So here at the Father's house, we honor the Word of God and we honor the man of God. Would you stand with me and welcome Masaki Matsumoto? Good after everybody for you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's probably weird to see an Asian guy with a microphone and you're not at a karaoke bar, but here I am. I'm humbled and honored to be here. I really am. I just want to start out by saying I am no better than any one of you, holier than one of you. Definitely not smarter than any one of you. I just want to share my story, and I hope that encourages you a little bit wherever you are in your life. As you saw some of the story in the video, I was born in Japan in 1982. Normal childhood, I would say, till about 4, and that's when my mom and my dad got divorced. And even after that, pretty normal divorced childhood. The typical stay with the mom during the week, visit the dad on the weekend, and that kept going for a few years. Then when I was 7, my life changed a little bit. My brother and I were watching TV in the living room, probably Dragon Ball Z. My mom and my mom comes in. And she says, guys, I'm moving to America, Seattle, Washington, start a new life. You could either go with me or you could stay with Dad. And she didn't put any pressure on either of us. And so my brother, who was older, a little bit more established in Japan, decided to stay. And me being younger and a mama's boy, I decided to come with my mom. Got to the U.S., very tough transition for me. Language barrier was the biggest thing. But what helped me was sports. Because you don't need to speak when you're playing. You just play, and it connected me with other kids. And I would say I don't know what would have happened if I didn't have sports transitioning to America. And that's one of the reasons why I take coaching so seriously, and sports is a big passion. Again, pretty normal childhood, raised by a single mom, but in 7th grade, my mom decides to put me in a Christian school. It's a K through 12 school in Seattle, King's School, and that's where really my life changes and God leads me in a certain path and allows me to meet certain people. Couple years in middle school, pretty tough transition. I wasn't a Christian. My mom put me there more for academic reasons, and so I didn't fit in very well. But in 9th grade, that's when I decided to live my life for Christ, and I accepted Christ. The reason why is because there was something different about people at King's. They were just kinder. They showed me love, and they were just different than the people I was used to. And I knew the reason was because they had Jesus. And also because, I was at a Christian school, I had to take Bible classes. And the things they were making, they were saying in the class just made sense, I started realizing there has to be a creator. A big bang isn't going to make this earth and make everything run so perfectly. And so I knew there was a creator. And for those 2 reasons, I accepted Christ. And again, my life changed drastically. Also in 9th grade, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher because of the teachers and the coaches I had in my life who was making a huge impact on me at that time. Academic, obviously, athletically, obviously, but also personally. And I wanted to do that for the future generation. And I thought, you know what? No better profession than teaching. High school, become heavily involved in sports, football and track especially. And I knew I wanted to try to go play college football. And but more importantly, in these sports, I met amazing coaches that really filled me not having a father that role, and they taught me how to be a better man. And again, second reason why I take coaching so seriously is because of them and what they've done for me, and I know I need to do the same thing for these kids. So I graduate high school. I get to Trinity University in Chicago. There, I meet a amazing football coach, my head coach, Coach Lambert, who becomes again a huge father figure in my life, who teaches me how to be a man at a critical time in my life in college through the game of football, and also teaches me what biblical football is, and basically that's using football as a vehicle to transform hearts. And not the other way around like a lot of coaches do. They use players for their success or for football. No, we use football as a vehicle to transform hearts, and that's what he taught me, and that's what I learned playing for him. Then I meet a friend. His name is Michael. Him and I develop a close friendship. He lives right, next door to me in my dorm, and we start doing Bible studies together. And in one Bible study, he brought this verse to me, and it's James 1:27, and it says, "Pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you." And for some reason, at that age, when I was 22, 21, 22, that verse really hit me. And I didn't know why at the time. And, I wrote it out on a note card and stuck it on my wall, and it was up there in my dorm room for 3 years. And I'll come back to this verse in a little bit. Then, after I graduate college, I go to grad school right away. I end up in San Diego, Point Loma Nazarene University. That's where I got my master's. And I also start coaching football at that time because, in grad school, classes are at night, so I had time during the day. So I was like, sure, I'll volunteer. And so I started my coaching career there. Also, when I got to Point Loma, I was just going to get my master's in teaching. But I decided to pursue master's in special education, and I'll come back why that's significant a little bit later. I can't find any teaching job after I finished grad school in San Diego, so I applied to LA Unified, and I get a job at Bernstein, the school in the video. I become a special education teacher there, head track coach, and an assistant football coach because they already have a football coach there. But after 4 years in 2012, we go 4-36, and I become the head coach because the principal liked what I was doing with the track program. She saw that I had a good relationship with the players already, so she named me the head coach. And we get on ESPN. We have and we experience success. But in 2015, I'm ready to move back home to be closer to my mom. She's getting older, and I get the job at Lincoln, and that's where I am right now. Lincoln. Similar school like Bernstein, low-income kids, inner-city kids. It's a Title I school, which means 70% or more kids are on reduced or free lunch. But so it's tough. 1 out of 13 kids are homeless at Lincoln, and that's where we are right now. We just finished our 3rd season, going into 4th season, doing great things. The same work you saw us doing in the video, we're doing at Lincoln, but probably to a higher magnitude. So that brings me here. This is where now I share what God has done for me. I'm going to share something pretty personal. Not many people know this. Obviously, some of my close friends, my mom, Dr. Posey in the back, they know this. But I want to be transparent with you guys because we always tell our kids, you got to be transparent. You got to be transparent to make a difference and also to grow. And so I'm going to do that with you. I came here to the United States on a student visa, which means as long as I go to school, I can stay in America. Well, obviously, after a few years, America became my home. I started forgetting how to speak, read, write Japanese. I loved American culture. I was meeting friends and I was meeting coaches, and I knew that this is where I wanted to live the rest of my life. Well, but the bad thing is, in order for me to stay here forever, I had to get my green card. And the way you do that is 3 ways. Number 1, you could do it by winning the green card lottery. So every year, my mom and I, we applied for a green card lottery, and there's millions of applicants because obviously a lot of people want to be in America, but there's only a few thousand winners. And I would always read about, on the internet, magazines, TV, people winning. But over 20 years we applied, we never got it. Second way was to get married to an American girl. Easy, right? Look at me, right? um, well, I always thought I was gonna, you see in movies and TV shows, I'm gonna meet that girl in college, no problem, right? And Trinity, as a matter of fact, was known for girls coming to get their Mrs. degrees. So I was like, all right, Christian school, I got this, right? A lot of my friends were getting married. I was in weddings, right? I was a groomsman, best man, but I never got married in college. Then the third way was through a job. Well, this is why. This is why it's a little bit significant about the special education. So I ended at Point Loma Nazarene University because Dr. Posey in the back, he was my professor at Trinity, and my sophomore year, he got a job at Point Loma Nazarene University. Well, he knew my senior year of college, I wanted to go to grad school right away, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come to Point Loma? I have an empty room. You can stay there for cheap. I'll take care of you, and you could get your master's." So I did. 2006, I came here and started my master's program. 2 weeks into the program, Dr. Posey pulls me aside and says, "Hey, you have a PE credential, and if you get your master's in education, you're just going to be a PE teacher with a master's degree in education. You're not going to get a job right now because everyone wants to be a PE teacher. Why don't you pursue a master's in special ed, because they need special education teachers everywhere and anytime." And so I thought about it for a couple nights, and I decided to do that. Okay. Well, it's March now, 2008. I'm 2 months away from graduating with my master's. I need to either stay in school or I need to get a green card. I'm panicking because there's nothing in San Diego. 2 a.m. one night, I'm surfing the net. I see LA Unified. I go to their website, and on their main page, "We need special education teachers. We will sponsor work visa and get a green card." So, so I apply that night. 2 weeks later, I drive up there. I interview for a job, and about in April, I get a job offer, and they give me a list of schools I could teach at, and I choose Bernstein because it's a brand new school that was opening that year, and I knew they would be looking for coaches as well. And I taught there for 7 years, got a work visa, and got my green card, and that's where we are. So, why is this significant? Because everything that I'm doing, everything you saw in this video, everything that I'm doing at Lincoln, it had to happen through option 3, through a job. I would love to say, growing up, I saw inner city LA, movies and all these kids struggling in the inner city of LA, and okay, I'm gonna go save them. Well, I'm not that brave. It didn't happen that way. I wish I could say it did, but I was basically forced to go there. And I remember that summer before I started at Bernstein, I was angry. I was pretty upset at God, because I had a good situation in San Diego. I was coaching at a great high school, Cathedral Catholic, and I thought I would be there forever. And I was angry that I had to go to this place that I have no idea about. I've never even sniffed what inner city is, but I had to go there if I wanted to stay in America. Well, I get to Bernstein. I don't know any better than success. I went to a private school, and I grew up in the suburbs. So when I heard kids saying, "Oh, coach, I have an F in this class. I may not go to college. I may not graduate. I get to first period late." I couldn't fathom that idea because because where I went to school, none of that happened. And so what I did was what I knew. I held kids to the standards that I grew up with. And, "Oh, you're an inner city kid? No, okay, we'll lower our standards." I didn't do that because I didn't know what that was, right? And so immediately the kids were drawn to what we were doing, and the kids were sold. And that's how we were able to impact so many lives at Bernstein. And I always say, kids want structure and discipline, whether they realize it or not. And that's what happened there. That's what happened there. And again, I'm not married. I don't have my own family, so I give everything to these kids. Money, time, effort, right? And especially to these kids who don't have a lot. And that's where James 1:27 comes back. And that's why God put, imprinted that on my heart in college, that verse, when I didn't know why. Now I know why. That's one of my favorite verses, because I'm supposed to, true religion in the eyes of God is to take care of the orphans and the widows, basically the underdogs. And then, last thing I realized was everything along the way prepared me for this, even though I didn't realize it. How, you ask? Okay, I accept Christ in ninth grade. Well, without Christ right now in my heart, I would not be doing this, because I'm lazy, I'm selfish, I want what's comfortable, okay? That's human nature. And without Christ, I would not be able to do what I do right now, because it's not easy. I didn't have a father growing up. Well, the kids I coach don't have dads, don't have stable homes, so I can relate, I can empathize, and they can say that, hey, coach understands what I'm going through because he's been through it. Sports, it became a huge part of my life, because that's what connected me with kids. And what I'm doing is through sports. I had great coaches, coaches who inspired me to be the teacher, and coaches who inspired me to care about the kid more than just a player, but as an actual kid, as a person. I go to a private school, so I have high standards, and because that's what these kids need. Trinity, I meet Coach Lambert, and I learn what biblical football is. Now, that's what I'm trying to do with our football team. James 1:27. It just comes randomly to me in a Bible study in college. And then Dr. Posey, Point Loma, and special education. All of these things, I didn't know it at the time, but it has prepared me and brought me to this point. So, my 4 takeaways from this story. Number 1, love yourself, including your circumstance. It doesn't mean you're not perfect, or it doesn't mean you're perfect and that you don't try to better yourself. Mark 12:29 says, love your neighbors as yourself. Well, you can't love your neighbors if you don't love yourself first and the place where God has placed you, right? Don't wish for other people's situation that you miss your calling, right? Because that's where I was until God really saved me. He's, oh, I wish I was married. Why don't I have a green card? Why don't I have this? And all along, God was preparing me for my calling. And so, again, it's important that you love the place where you're at and you love yourself. Otherwise, you're going to miss what God has for you and what you could do for God at that point. Now, a little bit of Coach Matt's going to come out right now. One thing I want to encourage you guys to do or not do is no BCD. This is what we teach our players. No blaming, complaining, defending. Don't blame others. Don't complain about your circumstance. Don't defend yourself. And so every day I try to remind myself, no BCD, no BCD, no BCD. Number 2, God will place you where you belong, even if you don't feel like it. So do God's work where you are. What is God's work? Help others and care for them. Love your neighbors as yourself. Nick Saban, the University of Alabama football coach, some of you may have heard of him. He tells his players, be great where your feet are. Be great where God has placed you. You don't have to be in Africa serving starving kids. You don't have to be in the inner city of LA working with inner city kids. You can make an impact where you are, where your job is, with your family, whether you're working at McDonald's. Look, I'm making a difference teaching a game, right? It's silly to think about, a simple game, but I'm using that as my vehicle, as a platform to help people, And so, again, be great where your feet are. Along with that, use your gifts and know that you are prepared, even if you're unaware that you're prepared, right? So I just showed you 9 ways that God prepared me, even though I didn't realize it until probably 2 years ago that, oh, all those things happened, so I can be doing this right now. So even your flaws or the things you don't think are significant, he'll use. For me, my flaws, okay? I'm type A. So my friends always make fun of me and say, hey, Masaki, you probably don't have a girlfriend because she doesn't want to be on a date and be on a tight schedule, 7:30 dinner, 7:45 dessert, 7:55 we got to kiss, Like and I said, haha, that's funny. But part of it is true. I'm very type A. Everything has to be organized, structured, or I get driven crazy. And some people think, well, how can type A person like survive in a chaotic inner city world? Well, because those kids, their homes are chaotic, so they want that structure when they're at school. And so I thrive where I think, where some people may think that's a flaw, but God uses that for the positive. I'm emotional. I cry in movies. I cried about 4 times in front of my team this past season. Okay? Oh, well, he's too emotional to be a coach at an inner city school. Well, kids want that because they know I'm real. They know I care. They see true emotions. They don't see that from, their friends and the male role models in rap videos, right? And so they want to see that genuine emotion, and that's one of the reasons why they are so committed to what we're doing, because they know we're real and because we show emotions with them or to them. I'm insecure, I really am, but because I know I'm not smart, because I know I'm not very creative, it makes me work hard because I have to work harder than others to be on an even playing field with them. And so again, God uses my insecurities to make me work hard so that I don't get complacent, so that I keep working hard, I keep thriving to be better. So, number 3, okay? Don't be concerned about results or seeing your work pay off. You are a seed planter, that's it. Let time and God do the rest. That's what I have learned probably 4 years ago. I started to grasp that idea because before, when I was younger, when I just started coaching and teaching, I would get so upset when I didn't see kids change in front of my eyes. Even a freshman that would come in with these bad habits, and as a senior, he